The word vodka appears on thousands of bottles in every liquor store in America. It tells you almost nothing useful. Federal law defines vodka as a neutral spirit without distinctive character, aroma, taste, or color. That definition is not a description of what you are buying. It is a legal permission slip for every brand in the category to charge whatever the packaging can justify while putting essentially the same liquid inside. Understanding how vodka is actually made, what the production differences mean in the glass, and why some bottles genuinely outperform others, at half the price is the only way to stop paying for stories instead of spirit. Vodka begins with a fermentable base ingredient. Grain, potato, grape, sugarcane, or in some cases milk whey are the most common sources. The base ingredient matters less than most premium marketing suggests, and more than most budget producers admit. Wheat produces a lighter, slightly sweet spirit, with a clean, neutral finish. Rye contributes a faint spice and a subtle grain character that experienced tasters can detect even after distillation. Potato is the most demanding base to work with, because potato fermentation is less predictable and less efficient than grain. But when handled well, it produces a slightly creamier texture and a rounder mouthfeel that distinguishes it clearly from grain-based alternatives. Grape-based vodka, which brands like Ciroc have built entire identities around, delivers a marginally softer and faintly fruity character that is detectable in careful side-by-side evaluation, but rarely justifies the premium it commands in the market. The base ingredient is the foundation. What happens next determines everything else. Distillation is where the character of a vodka is either developed or destroyed, depending on the approach taken. Column distillation, also called continuous distillation, is the industrial standard. The spirit passes through a tall, vertical still in a continuous process, with each plate in the column removing a greater proportion of congeners, the flavor compounds that give a spirit its character. The more plates in the column, the more neutral and pure the resulting spirit. A 5-column distillation run produces something closer to pharmaceutical-grade ethanol than to a craft spirit. Neutrality is the point for many producers. A cleaner spirit requires less correction downstream and behaves more predictably across the millions of bottles a large brand needs to fill consistently. Pot still distillation, which almost no mainstream vodka producer uses, retains more congeners and produces a spirit with measurably more texture and personality. The handful of small producers working with pot stills for vodka are making a deliberate choice to prioritize character over consistency, and the results taste different in ways that justify attention. Filtration is where vodka marketing reaches its most creative territory, and where consumer confusion generates the most profit. Activated charcoal filtration is the industry standard. It works by passing the spirit through carbon, which binds to certain impurities and removes them from the liquid. The result is a cleaner, smoother spirit. This process is effective, inexpensive, and used by virtually every vodka producer in the world, from the cheapest to the most expensive. Some brands take that fact and dress it up in language meant to imply something it does not. Filtration through diamonds, crystals, lava rock, or rare geological formations is a marketing exercise. Independent chemical analysis has found no measurable difference in the finished spirit that is attributable to these alternative filtration materials compared with standard activated charcoal. The process of filtration genuinely matters. The material used rarely does. When a bottle charges a premium for its filtration medium, the premium is paying for the story, not the chemistry. The number of distillations printed on a label is the vodka industry's most reliable misdirection tool. 3 times distilled, 5 times distilled, 6 times distilled. These figures appear as quality signals. They function as nothing of the sort without additional context. Distilling a mediocre base spirit multiple times does not compound quality. It compounds neutrality. A poorly produced spirit run through the still 6 times becomes a slightly cleaner version of something that was not interesting to begin with. Conversely, a well-produced spirit distilled twice from exceptional base ingredients. With careful attention to the cuts, the portions of the distillation run the master distiller retains, and the portions they discard can outperform a competitor that was distilled 6 times in every meaningful performance evaluation. The number of distillations tells you how many times the spirit entered a still. It does not tell you what went in, how the cuts were made, or whether the result deserved the bottle it ended up in. Water source is the one production variable that vodka brands deploy most consistently in their marketing, and that has the most legitimate impact on the finished product of anything they claim. Water is added at the bottling stage to bring the spirit down from distillation strength to the proof that goes on the label. The mineral content, softness, and purity of that water affects the texture and mouthfeel of the finished vodka in ways that are measurable and genuine. Icelandic spring water filtered through lava rock carries a mineral quality that transfers perceptibly to the spirit. Kentucky limestone filtered water, which carries a softness developed through geological filtration over centuries, produces a different texture than municipal water treated to remove impurities. When a brand makes specific, verifiable claims about its water source, this is one of the few production details worth paying attention to. When a brand uses the words pure and natural without specifics, the water source is doing no more work than the rest of the label. Proof at bottling is a detail most vodka buyers do not examine and should. The legal minimum for vodka is 80 proof, which is 40% alcohol by volume. Most mainstream vodkas are bottled at exactly this threshold. A small number of premium producers bottle at higher proofs, typically between 42 and 50%, without labeling the higher strength as a selling point. The practical consequence is significant. A spirit bottled at higher proof retains more of the aromatic compounds that lower proof dilution strips away. The texture is different, the finish behaves differently, and the performance in cocktails, where the vodka needs to hold its presence against other ingredients, is measurably stronger. Proof is printed on every label. It is one of the most reliable and least examined indicators of what is actually in the bottle. The geographic designation on a label tells a buyer where the vodka was bottled, not necessarily where it was distilled. A bottle stating that it is a product of France may contain spirit distilled in France, or it may contain a base spirit produced elsewhere that was finished, blended, or simply bottled at a French facility. The TTB, which governs alcohol labeling in the United States, requires that the country of production appear on the label. The definition of production includes operations like blending and bottling, not distillation alone. That creates space for brands to imply a geographic heritage they did not earn through distillation. A label that says distilled in rather than produced in or bottled in is making a specific claim about where the spirit was actually made. That distinction is worth finding on the label before you decide whether the geographic story justifies the price attached to the bottle. Potato vodka deserves its own examination because it represents the clearest example of a production choice that genuinely affects the drinking experience rather than just the marketing materials. The extra difficulty and cost of working with potato as a base ingredient produce a finished spirit with a characteristic creaminess and a fuller mouthfeel that grain vodkas rarely achieve. That difference is detectable in careful tasting, and it is the legitimate basis for a price premium that some potato vodka producers charge. The challenge is separating producers who charge more because the product genuinely costs more to make and delivers something different in the glass, from producers who use potato origin as another premium story layered over an ordinary result. Polish potato vodkas made by producers working with traditional methods and verified base ingredients are the strongest representatives of what this production approach can deliver at fair prices. Every claim on a vodka label translates into a price you pay at the register. The filtration material, the distillation count, the celebrity partnership, the heritage story, the geographic origin, and the bottle design all contribute to the number on the shelf tag, without necessarily contributing anything to the liquid inside. The buyers who spend well in this category are not the ones who spend most. They are the ones who know which label claims reflect genuine production differences and which ones reflect a marketing department's understanding of what consumers find reassuring. That knowledge costs nothing. The bottles it helps you avoid cost considerably more. If this changed how you read a vodka label, subscribe. Every week we go category by category through the spirits world and show you exactly what the industry hopes you never examine closely enough to understand.